an overall uptrend. That's not really something that you have to debate about. Structures being maintained for all intents and purposes based on like that daily type of time frame. And you can see that obviously most of the momentum is bullish. You already had a cross of your moving averages. We're well beyond that point. So from this point on, you're obviously going to be looking for more continuation type moves than transitions. Transitions meaning transitioning to a downtrend within itself, right? So you're obviously going to see pullbacks because that's a part of market structure, right? You get those push, you get those pulls, and those pulls take you to the next point in structure. You see areas where, price, buyers are starting to accumulate in a sense and getting that volume to actually push it to the next point in structure. So overall, my overall target is obviously based on like wick areas and areas of like resistance and support in a sense for UJ, right? So for this up and coming week, obviously you're still going to be maintaining that bullish type of outlook for everything that you're doing. Now, in order to actually capture, or look for possible entry points to actually flow with the overall trend itself, you need to find structure points, right? So overall, you could have been measuring, some of these pullbacks here, which they all were 23.6s, which again, continuations rather than transitions, right? So you would have been like measuring these to see like, okay, 23.6 is just a continuation, price is still being maintained. So for where we are right now, you could actually pull your fibs. You don't need fibs, but it's just something that you can utilize as well. Price is still being maintained. So price could actually retrace 100% of this move all the way back into like an area here and still be valid for the overall uptrend itself, right? Obviously, if the retrace is that steep, you're obviously not going to be trying to buy at every single stop. You know what I mean? So you obviously need like a transition back into the overall uptrend, which again is a little bit more in depth than where I want to go. But price could very well retrace, to any of these PRZ levels to actually take us to that next point in structure. And what you would need to see. So let's clear that out real quick. And what you would need to see is like, obviously you would want to go to like a lower time frame, such as like your M15, or your M30, depending on where you base your structure off of. And you want to start seeing certain things. So obviously when you're looking for points of structure, you're going to be looking for like breaks of levels of support. So for example, here, this is like a minor area based on your M15. You could base it off of somewhere like here, a median of, the wicks. And then that's where you could like start to anticipate certain retraces that could, that are possible for, a little bit of bearish momentum to come into the market to actually take us to the next point in structure. So for UJ, obviously the outlook is going to be bullish more than anything. And for where we are right now, we're going to be waiting for some sort of like structure point that we can actually take advantage of and flow back into the overall uptrend within itself. Always, remember, keep your chart super clean, as close to raw market data as possible. But if you're a beginner, don't trip. If you need certain things, utilize that. Don't hold back or feel like you have to have your chart a certain way. Do what works for you. When you first learn to ride a bike, you ride with training wheels. You don't just hop on a bike and hope that you get it, right? So anyway, back to what I was saying, mark off your structure points, make sure that everything is being maintained to a certain extent, but also keep it in mind what the overall outlook is and what's possible. And like I said, you could get 100% of that retrace and price could still maintain that bullish momentum, because as it stands right now, we don't actually have like any type of PRZ levels that we can consider like major structure points. Everything right now has just been levels of support in a sense. All right. So that's UJ on the UJ outlook as well. For the Nasdaq right now, everything has been like, the overall trend is an uptrend, but right now we're seeing a lot more bearish than bullish momentum in the market at the moment. So for where things stand right now, I'm obviously going to be anticipating more bearish moves. This was actually the area that I was anticipating price to come back into. But for what I would want to see in order to feel confident saying that, this overall counter trend is done, is I like to see what you already know, thick candles actually showing me a transition to say that price is ready to go back into the overall uptrend. And so just so you guys can kind of like get a visual of what I'm saying, let me go to like a pair that I don't really try. Okay, so let me show you guys what I'm talking about real quick here. So for example, you would see something like this, right? Like you're in a downtrend. This is like on, you can say like your H1 or M30, whatever whatever you feel most comfortable with, right? So you start to see things like this happen, right? And then this is that first break of, an area where you have like a previous structure point, for example, right? And like a lower high point. So you get that break of that lower high point, price comes back into this area. You don't necessarily need a retrace, but what you want to see more than anything is that break with thick candles beyond a previous area of resistance, aka like a previous lower high point, to actually say that price is ready to start making those, transition back into the overall uptrend within itself, right? So until we actually see that, I'm not going to feel super confident taking and holding buy opportunities, because that's not what volume and price action is showing us. I don't typically trade on Sundays unless there's like a super clean setup. So I'm not actually looking for anything right now, but as it stands, price is making lower high points. So what am I going to do? I'm going to just flow with the overall trend itself that price is currently in, keeping in mind what's actually possible and knowing what the overall trend itself is, and anticipating and waiting for, or not necessarily anticipating, but being open to seeing, breaks of levels of, previous lower high points and levels of resistance to actually flow back with the overall trend within itself. Right? All right, so that's everything that we're looking for this upcoming week. Happy trading. Remember, guys, stay focused on your goals, stay disciplined. Remember that you cannot prevent your losses. You must manage your risk. Live to trade another day. If you missed some trades last week, it doesn't matter. The market's constantly moving and there will be way more opportunities. So don't put all your eggs in one basket for one single trade, because it's not the one trade that changes your life. It's that one trade over a series of trade over a period of time, right?